Democrats about demanding this person get locked up and this person be tried and this person go away. But something's got to be done for Adam Schiff, because he created 3 years of a massive fallacy that did so much damage to this country and made us miss probably one of the most important stories of our lifetime. We were having hearings on impeachment while the coronavirus was exploding. We talked about that virus in green rooms, but we had to do this impeachment story. We had to show these hearings. It's all on him, man. He's got to go. They got to investigate him. They got to hold him accountable. I'm not going to say he should go to prison, but my evil twin will say he should go away to prison for a very long time.
Greg Gutfeld just unleashed a scorching verbal blast on Adam Schiff's reputation, and he didn't hold back for even a second as he delivered a takedown so fierce it felt like it needed protective gear just to listen to it. Gutfeld carved through Schiff's ego like he was peeling away layers of a stubborn mask, revealing every suspicious bend and twist with the precision of a determined surgeon and the playful intensity of a comic who refuses to let the energy drop for even a moment. And if anyone thought Schiff only had a few secrets tucked away, Gutfeld made it feel like he opened the door to an entire haunted mansion filled with shadows, hidden corners, and sarcasm sharp enough to slice through steel with one dramatic swipe.
Been much more clear about how he unleashed the impeachment circus. Note, when a politician says they should be much more clear, they mean, I wish you hadn't caught me lying to your face.
I should have been much more clear, and I said so the minute it was brought to my attention, that I was referring to the fact that when the whistleblower filed the complaint, we had not heard from the whistleblower. We wanted to bring the whistleblower in at that time, but I should have been much more clear about that.
You know, instead of trying to be clear, it might just save time if you just decided to be honest. Otherwise, it's like Hunter Biden saying that although he did nothing wrong, he's not going to do it anymore.
Greg Gutfeld never needed gentle words or a soft approach to shut down anything ridiculous. And he stepped into the moment with a mic in hand and that familiar sharp smirk forming, like he already knew exactly where things were headed. When the target happened to be Adam Schiff, that smirk tightened into something almost amused, because taking on the wide-eyed prophet of endless investigations meant Greg wasn't playing simple games. He was flipping the entire table with complete confidence and zero hesitation. And honestly, what else can anyone do when the opponent keeps acting like a confused Russian nesting doll, stuck inside another layer he can't figure out, while pretending he had it all under control the whole time?
Years ago, but my question is, where is the legitimate reckoning for this 5-year hoax? Like, what can you do? Because clearly he's not going to be voted out. This guy thinks he's still going to run. And by the way, why does he keep saying erection instead of insurrection?
Greg portrayed Schiff as something far stranger than an ordinary man. More like a wandering subpoena drifting through the halls with the quirky energy of someone who alphabetizes conspiracy theories for entertainment, while whispering secrets to a framed picture of Robert Mueller like it's an old friend. Schiff clung to the entire Russia storyline, the way a child clings to a worn-out blanket, dragging it behind him with metaphorical legal drool long after everyone else had already moved on, still pushing it forward as if it held the key to everything. And the wild part was that Greg was only warming up, digging deeper with growing intensity as he peeled away each exaggerated layer, like he was unwrapping the most dramatic joke ever delivered.
The resolution adopted. Without objection, the motion to consider is laid on the table. House will be in order. The House will be in order. I have all night.
I have all night.
Greg didn't need a courtroom or a judge's gavel to deliver this roast, because he laid out Schiff's entire public persona like a disastrous one-star Yelp review suddenly brought to life, pointing out the face that always seemed frozen in a stunned owl expression, the voice that sounded like it was trying desperately to persuade a strict librarian to break federal law, and a delivery so dry it felt capable of sparking brush fires with a single awkward sentence. To Gutfeld, Schiff wasn't acting like a politician at all. He came across more like a haunted Victorian child reciting indictments through a Ouija board, talking about democracy as if he were trying to convince someone to buy expired yogurt with "Trust Me" sloppily printed across the label in shaky Comic Sans.
Filed the complaint. We had not heard from the whistleblower. We wanted to bring the whistleblower in at that time, but I should have been much more clear about that.
You know, instead of trying to be clear, it might just save time if you just decided to be honest. Otherwise, it's like Hunter Biden saying that although he did nothing wrong, he's not going to do it anymore. Hunter says he's no longer going to work for China because we found out, he was working for China. So Schiff champions transparency, all the while saying the whistleblower might not testify.
And let's be honest, Gutfeld never forgot the golden era of Schiff's obsession, especially those dramatic congressional hearings where Schiff behaved as if he had nuclear codes scribbled in invisible ink on a tiny post-it tucked inside his left shoe. Greg mocked every theatrical pause, every exaggerated eyebrow lift, and that forced aura of mystery that crumbled the moment you realized Schiff's idea of evidence was barely stronger than a fortune cookie message pretending to be classified intelligence. If Schiff were a magician, his grand finale would be pulling absolutely nothing out of a hat and then accusing the hat of treason, while Greg laughed imagining him in his office surrounded by corkboards and red string like he was reconstructing Bigfoot's tax records in complete seriousness. Schiff spent years turning every misplaced coffee stain into undeniable proof of collusion, and even when reality karate chopped the entire storyline, he doubled down like a gambler, betting on a horse that already ran away from the racetrack, which made Gutfeld's roast even sharper when he compared Schiff to a fire alarm that only goes off when surrounded by fire extinguishers, always screaming at the wrong moment for the wrong reasons. And when all the smoke finally clears, Schiff adjusts his tie like he saved the day while hiding a metaphorical gas can behind his back. Because according to Gutfeld, Schiff's real superpower wasn't exposing corruption but inventing it with the unwavering confidence of someone who has only ever been fact-checked by his own mirror.
But I can promise you this is not the end of my fight for our democracy. This is just the beginning. Please join us and contribute today. Thank you.
Here's my question. How much will it cost for you not to run? But does Schiff even see the irony in his little video? He's talking about fighting for democracy and doing his job on the Intelligence Committee on TikTok, a Chinese-owned social media site. So Schiff is rightly getting blasted for that. And I didn't even know Adam had a TikTok account.
Greg then plunged straight into the unforgettable visual spectacle of Schiff's non-stop media tour, describing it as watching a man audition for the role of a nervous weatherman in a community theater show nobody ever asked for or planned to attend. Schiff would lean toward the camera, lower his voice dramatically, and deliver lines so vaguely mysterious they made horoscopes sound like detailed engineering blueprints, while Gutfeld tore apart the way Schiff hyped up massive bombshells that landed with the impact of a soggy tissue dropping onto the sidewalk. Greg mocked how Schiff spoke with the serious intensity of someone announcing a moon landing, even though all he ever held in his hands was a printout from BuzzFeed, turning him into the human version of a buffering symbol, always building suspense but never actually delivering anything meaningful, and somehow still managing to drain everyone's time and patience. The best moment came when Schiff insisted he had definitive proof of Trump-Russia collusion, which Greg treated as pure comedic gold, joking that if Schiff ever hosted a cooking show, he'd spend half an hour hyping up a flawless souffle, only to reveal he never even turned on the oven, because his supposed evidence, as Greg quipped, was just as invisible as his credibility and just as hopelessly underseasoned.
I'm back, baby. Pretty soon I'll have my high-back chairman's chair again.
I don't understand. You're happy I didn't realize you were, don't you realize that you were censored by a majority in Congress?
Yes! Isn't it wonderful? I'm very pro-censorship. Censorship. Oh my, that's hard to say. The point is, the cameras are on me again, and this time I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
The fact that Schiff kept getting invited back onto cable news, even after being proven wrong again and again, was, to Gutfeld, the biggest comedy routine of all, like hiring a lifeguard who has never actually seen water but still shows up with a whistle and confidence. Greg joked that the only thing receiving more airtime while being consistently incorrect was a magic 8-ball, and even that plastic toy occasionally managed to give an answer that made accidental sense. He then zeroed in on Schiff's latest mission, his crusade against disinformation, which Greg found hilariously ironic, since the same man who once treated wild theories like official policy now wanted to act as the guardian of truth, a contradiction so bold Gutfeld tore it apart like a raccoon, tearing through an overstuffed dumpster behind a busy restaurant. He said Schiff battling disinformation was like a mosquito leading a campaign against mosquito bites, a level of hypocrisy too enormous to ignore. And Greg made sure the audience felt every ounce of the absurdity. Greg dug even deeper, laying out Schiff's career like a timeline built entirely from predictable stumbles, turning him into the political equivalent of a malfunctioning GPS that constantly reroutes straight into a brick wall while stubbornly insisting the route is perfectly correct. According to Greg, Schiff's only real talent was making sure absolutely nothing got accomplished while acting extremely worried that something might, a skill he seemed to hone over the years with almost astonishing consistency.
Schiff got kicked to the curb, and the irony is superb. He went crying to mommy on an app run by Chinese commies. Congressman Adam Schiff announced this morning he's running for U.S. Senate in California, which is guaranteed to boost U-Haul rentals headed for Texas.
And that somber expression Schiff always carried around, the one he flashed like a badge of moral importance, became yet another easy target for Gutfeld, who compared it to the confused look of a mall security guard discovering a spilled slushie and trying to decide whether to call backup or write a dramatic poem about it. Schiff didn't project strength at all. He radiated the soft, sleepy energy of a PBS documentary narrator, only with less charm and far more bewilderment, which Greg tore into without even pausing to breathe. Then he went harsher, bringing up Schiff's over-the-top reaction to being censored, the crocodile tears, the exaggerated speeches, and the theatrical sadness that sounded like someone banned from karaoke for attempting to sing Coldplay entirely in Morse code, creating a scene no one could forget. Gutfeld laughed at the idea that Schiff saw himself as some kind of noble martyr, imagining he was Galileo standing up for truth, when in reality he behaved more like a political weather vane, spinning wildly with every gust of cable news panic. Greg didn't stop there. He jumped straight into Schiff's relationship with the media, painting him as a clingy ex who couldn't go a single night without texting CNN at 2 a.m. about supposed foreign meddling that always turned out to be a misread tweet from a random bot account, pointing out that Schiff's thirst for airtime could probably irrigate half of California during a drought.
Hello, I'm Congressman Adam Schiff with some troubling news. Today, Kevin McCarthy removed me from the House Intelligence Committee, all for doing my job, for holding Trump accountable and standing up to the extreme MAGA Republicans. We knew it would be bad when the Republicans took over, but it's far worse than we expected.
Schiff didn't just chase relevance. He hunted it with the intensity of a paparazzi searching for the easiest scandal of the week. And when he finally released his book, Gutfeld had a field day, imagining the writing process as Schiff staring into a mirror, whispering dramatic lines about impeachment, while soft piano music played in the background for atmosphere. Greg joked that the book should have been titled How to Say Everything and Prove Nothing, insisting its main source read like a magic eye puzzle, where no hidden image appears no matter how long you stare or how hard you squint. Then Gutfeld shifted to Schiff's so-called legendary poker face, not because it was mysterious or impressive, but because it resembled someone caught eavesdropping through a door and pretending they were sleepwalking just to escape the awkwardness. Greg even joked that every time Schiff opened his mouth, you half expected a little puff of dust and a minor ethics concern to tumble out as an unexpected bonus.
He's censured, but to his credit, he's still the only member to have a 12-inch neck. Yeah, what'd you think I was going to say? Being censored, which is basically an official serious scolding, is a punishment just below being expelled from Congress. But when Speaker McCarthy made the announcement, Democrats did what they do best, mindlessly scream hysterical nonsense.
And still, Schiff marched forward, untouched by facts and completely unfazed by any form of accountability, which led Greg to compare him to a haunted fax machine that never stops whining while spitting out page after page of confusion, convinced it's transforming the world one smudged document at a time. Greg joked that Schiff wouldn't recognize irony even if it held a full press conference on Capitol Hill right in front of him. Yet there he stood, proudly calling himself a guiding light while steering everyone straight into the rocks like a captain who refuses to check the map. Gutfeld imagined Schiff's campaign slogans sounding something like, Adam Schiff, still looking for that smoking gun, or vote for me. I haven't found collusion yet, but I'm feeling optimistic, painting him as the leader of a detective agency run by a man chasing ghosts only he claims to see. And in every imaginary case, Schiff would proudly hold up an empty folder and declare it classified because it supposedly contained the real truth, which only made Greg laugh even harder at the spectacle he had created for absolutely everyone watching.
Ironic retort. If you want to know why we're impeaching the president, we're just going to have to impeach him to find out. It's garbage. They know it. We know it. The good news, you know it too. So, do you want to see Tom Shalhoub did an amazing impression of Adam Schiff reading nursery rhymes?
Yeah, let's see it.
Let's do it, okay?
Adam Schiff didn't even seem aware that he had turned himself into a full parody, wandering through Congress as if he were starring in a high-stakes political thriller, while completely oblivious to the fact that the audience had already changed the channel long ago. He still pictured himself as the heroic lead in some intense drama, not realizing he had slowly become a recurring character in a comedy series that no one remembered signing up for, and that few fewer people were still watching. Greg tightened the roast by joking that Schiff's political career felt like a TV season renewed purely out of habit. Nothing new ever happened. The plot circled endlessly, and the only viewers remaining were those too tired to reach for the remote. There stood Schiff, cue cards ready, preparing another ominous warning about a crisis that didn't exist, staring into the camera with the seriousness of a man auditioning for a role that wasn't written, wasn't cast, and wasn't even part of the show in the first place.
Like, I'm disgusted by him, but he didn't do this by himself, right? If you think about 2016 to 2020, the number of hoaxes that were created by the Democrats, but engineered really by the media. You had the Fine People hoax, you had the Russian hoax, the drinking bleach hoax, the white supremacy movement hoax. What happened to that? All of these things.
Or the hookers in the hotel room.
Yeah, well, that's a Steele dossier. And that is the Russian collusion. That's how it started.
Because when it came down to it, Greg Gutfeld didn't even need to invent fresh jokes when roasting Adam Schiff, since Schiff practically handed him the punchlines just by standing in the spotlight and taking himself far too seriously. All Greg had to do was give him a little push, angle the lights in his direction, and let the wild swirl of exaggerated confidence roll downhill like a giant snowball of self-importance, smashing straight into the walls of credibility with dramatic force. By the time Gutfeld wrapped up that part of the roast, the audience wasn't only laughing at Schiff, they were genuinely questioning how he ever managed to step onto the political stage without tripping over the scenery. And somewhere behind closed doors, Schiff was likely preparing a full press conference about the roast itself, warning the public about imaginary foreign interference in the joke, while holding yet another blank folder, all as Greg hinted that he hadn't even begun serving the second course of the roast.
Anonymous guy you will never ever see who has ties to Democrats. This is what the Dems stand for, and it might not sit well with half of America. And it's just another wide-eyed lie. Schiff knows with each passing day how absurd this story looks. So, better to hide it from you. So the Dems must now rely on a simply moronic retort. If you want to know why we're impeaching the president, we're just going to have to impeach him to find out. It's garbage. They know it. We know it. The good news, you know it too. So, do you want to see Tom Shalhoub did an amazing impression of Adam Schiff reading nursery rhymes?
Yeah, let's see it.
Let's do it, okay?
And just when it seemed like the circus had finally folded its tent and rolled out of town, Schiff somehow managed to wheel out yet another act, this time trying to dress up selective leaks as noble whistleblowing, which Gutfeld instantly laughed into dust with absolute joy and disbelief. He said, watching Schiff leak half-formed scraps of information to friendly journalists was like watching a magician toss glitter into the air and insist it was a disappearing act, even though the only thing that truly vanished was any trace of accountability in the process. Schiff strutted around as if he were a heroic defender of justice, but behind that tightly controlled expression was a man frantically searching online for fresh synonyms for impeachable, hoping each new variation sounded dramatic enough to keep the show going. Greg compared him to a wannabe Bond villain with none of the charm, none of the story, and not even the gadgets, unless you count printer paper drenched in innuendo and held together with wishful thinking. Schiff didn't just miss the mark, he built his entire image on aiming at targets only he could see, and then blamed everyone else when the arrows landed in nothing but thin air, leaving Gutfeld with a final punchline that practically wrote itself.